as for my hair, I literally woke up today and I put my hair like this and I went to school because I decided when you're a single mother of 20 children, what really matters anymore besides your kids? Welcome back to Scooping Poop with Vivian, because that's what I do for my life. But that's okay because I absolutely love scooping poop. No, I love taking care of all my children. But today we're going to talk about blue tongue skinks and specifically how to feed them. So blue tongue skinks are what we call opportunistic omnivores, and they're also scavengers, which essentially means that they'll pretty much eat everything that you can find. So the word omnivore means that eats both animal product and also vegetation and fruit. So essentially that means that he's not vegan. Yeah. The word scavenger means that he doesn't exactly go out and hunt, but instead he likes to find things on the floor and eat them. Just like me at school. Basically, a blue tongue skink's diet has a lot of variety, and it's important that you provide that. And so that's what I'm going to do for little Malem today. By the way, Malem is actually a play on word of the Latin word evil, because you're evil. But that's what makes you special. I love you.
I love you.
So like I said earlier, the important thing about blue tongue skink diet is that there has to have a lot of diversity. So what this means is that you want to have a correct ratio of meat, vegetables, and fruits, and also provide the proper supplementation. So with a typical blue tongue skink, you want to be giving them 50% protein, 40% vegetation, and also 10% fruit. And so with Malem here, because he is a juvenile, I'm upping it around 60% meat because he needs a little bit extra protein in order to grow. So what I like to do is that I actually like to give him raw dog food. So this comes in a frozen form and it has a combination of chicken and beef, and making sure that all of them contain organs. Because as scavengers, they need to be eating whole organs. So if you decide to feed your blue tongue skink a home brew instead of feeding them prepackaged food, it's important that you're not just buying lean meat, but make sure that none of the meat is seasoned. Because any kind of seasoning, including even small amounts of salt, can be really damaging to your blue tongue skink, and you really don't want to risk that. And so again, for me, there are different options with meat. However, another thing I highly recommend are live feeder insects. So when it comes to vegetables, there are a few things you do want to avoid, such as onions and garlic and rhubarb, chocolate, those typical things that aren't good for the majority of animals. You want to do a quick search up before you give to your blue tongue skink. However, the best types of vegetables you can give them are greens. Things like spring mix, you can also chop it up and feed it to them and they will be super duper happy. What you want to avoid is large amounts of lettuce, especially things like iceberg lettuce, which holds extremely little nutritional value. So it's kind of like eating cardboard. Yeah, just don't do that. So essentially, you want to be giving, again, a very high variety of vegetables. Besides greens, you can give things like squash, shredded carrot, you could give them broccoli, you could give them a little bit of spinach. Again, things that bind calcium, such as broccoli and spinach, you want to give in smaller amounts. But essentially, your blue tongue skink will love a lot of the things you give them, but sometimes they can be very picky. Am I right? Blue tongue skinks are notorious for being picky with greens, just like a bearded dragon. So my trick, I like to chop the greens up into extremely tiny pieces so they have no choice but to eat them, okay? So moving on to another category is fruit. They are basically bunnies in a lizard form, as in they love bananas so much. I don't get it. But the thing with fruit is that you want it to be less than 10% or around exactly 10% of your blue tongue skink's diet, because essentially if you give them too much fruit, they will gain weight. Too much sugar will basically cause them to become obese, and you do not want that. For a brand that I totally recommend, and I'm not sponsored because who the hell would sponsor me at this point, is Ripashi, and they have amazing foods that you can give to your blue tongue skink. Stuff like Beardy Buffet and Bluey Buffet are two great options. Also, Grub Pie and even the Crested Gecko diet can be fed to your blue tongue skink. Now, I don't see that this is a complete meal substitute, because essentially you will want your blue tongue skink to have variety, as I've said multiple times, because of their natural instincts and behaviors when it comes to eating food. However, I think it's awesome there are different types of supplements that your Blue Tongue Skink requires. So supplementations, you need calcium. Calcium, again, like I talked about in my leopard gecko video, is essentially the building blocks of a reptile's bones and structure. So you're probably thinking, well, can't they get enough calcium from the food? And the answer is yes, it's totally possible. However, you want to stay on the safe side and make sure you're supplementing calcium at least on every couple of feedings. And so with calcium cannot be processed and absorbed by the body unless you're D3. Vitamin D3 is something that actually comes from the sun, and that is what helps them digest and absorb calcium so that it can actually function. Because consuming large amounts of calcium without D3 is kind of like trying to smoke oregano and get high. Oh my god, kids, don't do drugs. Please don't do drugs. Oh my god. So basically, another thing you want to be giving them are multivitamins. Again, diversity, right? You're already giving them so many different vegetables and types of meats, but you want to be completely sure that they're getting every single essential vitamin that they need. So when it comes to feeding, there are also different things like feeding schedules and how much and how often exactly do you feed a Blue Tongue Skink. Now that will depend on the age and size and just current situation of your Blue Tongue Skink. So generally, babies are fed every single day, juveniles every other day to every 3 days-ish, and adults it will be every 3 days to about once a week. And again, it will depend on the Blue Tongue Skink, it depends on how active they are, depends on if they're currently broodmating. But generally with Malem, I will measure with a tablespoon, and he will get around 1 to 2 tablespoons of food for each feeding, and if he looks like he needs a little more, then I'll give him a little more. But I've made sure to watch his weight very well. He has grown very well. And again, he is a Halmahera. He is not a Maruki like I thought when I first got him. So that means he stays a little bit smaller. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you like the clips of Malem eating and him just being so adorable. This is not a complete care guide of how you take care of your Blue Tongue Skink. However, I consider this a pretty complete diet guide. However, you should also be doing other research because this is my personal method of feeding my baby. But you should have other opinions too, because having an open mind and having multiple resources is the best way to enjoy your pet. And that's how I research my pet too. I watch different creators come up with different content and also do some article diving and talk to food professionals myself. Again, if you're considering a Blue Tongue Skink and you really want one, I suggest going to a reptile breeder and talking to them. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Again, please subscribe and like, and also comment down below if you guys have a Blue Tongue Skink, and also just tell me their name, please, because I would appreciate that so much. Honestly, the growth of my channel has been absolutely amazing so far, and I really can't believe it. So please share and like and comment and all that, because I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and bye! Actually, BTS, everybody thinks of the K-pop group. No, BTS is basically temperamental sausage.